When we were discussing the budget, we wanted to talk about some strategic planning that we've been doing actually for the past 3 years. We adopted a reserve policy back in 2011, and what that reserve policy is if the world went chaotic and we had to still pay our bills, we would have 2 months of operating expenses put away in a reserve so we can continue running the city. And so that's approximately 16.6 of the city's annual expenses. Also in 2011, we adopted a policy for non-recurring revenue. What that is one-time funds. For example, we are in the middle of selling our cloverleaf on the corner of Roe and Johnson Drive to Commerce Bank. So that we'll be talking about that later. And once we receive those funds, you know, what can we do with it? And we can use that money to reduce our debt. We could use that money to build up our reserve that we talked about before, that $689,000. We could spend it on a capital improvement or maintenance. So we haven't made any decisions on that, but that is a policy, so we know what we could do with it. We also got a forecasting module that has been helping us so that when we do 2013's budget, we're looking at 14 and 15. So if we can't pay for it in 13, we're looking to see, okay, well, we could forecast it and put it in 2014 or 15. And so that helps us have a longer vision and view of our expenses and when we can afford it, if and when we can afford it. Continuing on our strategic planning, we did find ways this year to reduce and lower our interest rate on some of our debt. So we refinanced $1.9 million, and that gave us approximately a savings of $138,000, which will be experienced over the next 10 years. And you'll see that on a later chart for our debt, and you'll see that how that helps us actually with lowering our debt payment. Now last year, if you remember, we said sales tax are decreasing, but they are gradually increasing. However, our property tax continues to decline. And it's declining at a slower rate, but it is still declining. And that is important to remember in another few slides. We still have our debt. Our investments in our stormwater projects from RC 1212, 1213, 1214. Everyone could see those in the new streets and the curbs, and it was a great investment, but it was very expensive. We also have to maintain our streets that we have, and in the third column it shows CARS. CARS stands for County Assisted Roads, and I'm sorry, service. Okay, and those are the roads that we actually get funding with Johnson County. So they pay 50% and we pay the other 50%. And so those are on our big streets like Roe and Mission Road, Roe Boulevard, and it lists them out. And so you may have seen in your area that we did a new type of, we had less dollars and more streets to do this year. And so we have been doing chip and seal rather than full mill and overlays. And we're doing some curb repairs and some sidewalk repairs also. So in fiscal year 2011, which we just finished in December, our fiscal year goes from January to December. You will see that in revenue, what the city received in revenue was about $4.5 million, and we expended $3.9 million. And this has been the first time in many years where we spent less than we received. What were our goals? What were we looking at for 2013 when we were starting to look at our budget? Well, we wanted to make sure that we provide the same level of high quality service to our residents without the residents feeling too much financial pain. You know what I mean by that. We wanted to prepare for a significant loss of Walmart sales tax revenue, which could have happened as early as 2014. And we'll talk about Walmart here in a little bit. We want to build on recent shared services successes as much as possible to find savings throughout with working with our neighbor cities. An example of that is we shared in a trash contract. So the city of Fairway, the city of Westwood, and the city of Roeland Park, we all went out to bid together for a trash contract, and by doing that, you get more volume and we got better pricing. So, you know, that was our first success. We're looking at other things, going out for streets next year together. And the more streets that you get in a project, the hopefully you'll get a better dollar amount for how much road you lay. And I have another slide on all the things that we have shared and continue to work on. And then finally, we want to, we want to continue to have a fiscally sound city, and we want to sell and develop city-owned properties. That's where we're going to get that revenue. Additionally, the city's priorities in regards to economic development, as I stated before, by selling some city-owned land, that we want to lure sales tax generating businesses. So we're going to be a little particular about what businesses we want. We want to make sure that they generate sales tax. In regards to, and that brings me to Commerce Bank, we do have a contract with them to sell the 3.35 acres on the corner of Roe and Johnson Drive for $820,000. They started at $600,000 and we got them up to $820,000. This will actually reduce some of our city expenses and our public works time because they had been maintaining that, mowing it, maintaining it. That takes time and money. Now those public works employees could be doing something else, and we'll talk about what else we might be having them do. They required no incentives. They didn't ask for a TIF, they didn't ask for a TDD. That is cash that we expect to be getting from them. They are participating in our 1% for art on all development and redevelopments of our land. So there's going to, 1% of what they have, 820,000 is what the amount that they will be producing. We'll get increased property tax from that development. And then their final development plan is actually before the Planning Commission on June 13th, which is just in 2 days from today. So
how a lot of empty lots are being appraised as though they were.
Just give a brief update on Walmart. I know that tomorrow the City of Mission is having a workshop on that. I know Mr. Valente will be coming in town. It's my understanding that a lot of things have changed, but we are still planning for Walmart to not come back to Roeland Park. But I do know that there will be more on that tomorrow. I haven't been privy to any fact yet, only rumor. So, okay, the gentleman in green.
Prospects for Walmart, are there any? It would seem to me that that's a good location.
It's a great location.
I'm curious if there's any folks that are interested in that, or if you've been getting any rumors on that.
Well, the property owner for that property has been talking. The problem is we have not been able to get Walmart to tell us where they are. I mean, we've had a lot of communication challenges with them. However, I'm glad to say that I was able to receive a phone call from them last week, and we will be meeting with them soon. So hopefully, because the property owner does have some wonderful prospects, but if you can't get a date, or if they're not, are they moving, are they not moving, so we know that they're not, we do know that they don't have star bonds anymore, so for that project down there. So, okay.
When's their lease expire?
2016? 2016.
They're bound to be in there until 2016, or can they vacate early?
They can vacate early, and that's what their plan was, to be out by 2014.
Is there a penalty for that?
Only to the owner of the property. We don't own that property, so they would pay that to the owner. Not to us, I wish. And so if you have any ideas on how we can reduce something, or where we can get additional money, or a developer, or, I mean, anything, we are, we're working with our other cities to see, how we can share, public works and all kinds of other things. So we all want to maintain our identity as a city, but we can still do that by sharing a lot of things. So I encourage you, if you have friends in other cities, that you should encourage them also to talk to their leadership about sharing with us. That would be great. Yes, sir.